Welcome to Emotional Support Water Bottle with Hannah and Ailish. I'm Hannah.
And I'm Ailish. We are recording a video today. We double checked. So we don't have the mistake and the complete sadness and disappointment that we had when we realized last week
we weren't recording
the entire time.
We literally, if we wouldn't have taken the little break, it's been a blank phone. We had just looked and there would have been literally nothing. You know what? We're trying out here.
It's hard out here, man. It's hard. Our little clicker thing wouldn't work, and it threw us off.
Our super cheap little remote.
It was like $3 probably. Okay, so this is kind of random, but it's topical. I feel like we have to talk about Travis and Taylor again because things are really heating up. Mm-hmm. They've been out twice in New York, but and like exciting, you know, whatever. But the thing I wanted to bring up was, how do you feel when you're like newly dating someone, or even if it's like you've been dating them for a while? How do you feel about the excessive hand holding?
I don't know. I definitely saw like what you mean. And I literally, because for some reason we're all just also in the relationship with them. So it's like you just start thinking about like just how awkward it is when you first start dating and just like all this stuff like you're trying so hard to do.
I know. And and like I don't mind a handhold.
Right.
I don't, or like, okay, we're going into a restaurant or whatever. But then I saw some photos of them in Nobu and they're still holding hands, like walking to the table. Like, is it weird? I don't think I would do that.
Trailing through like
it wasn't
fans,
busy.
but like on the outside, like fans and like, I don't know. And camera people, I guess maybe you'd want to hold hands because it's so weird to like just walk through all that, but I don't know.
And it's just like, I mean, I've heard rumors of a extended timeline, you know, that maybe they actually started dating earlier than we think, but I don't know if I agree with that or believe that. But okay, even so, maybe if anything, it would just have been a couple months before we all like knew about it. I just don't know. Like maybe it's just me that I'm just not huge on like, let's instantly hold hands all the time.
I don't know. I haven't been in the dating game in a long time. I can't even remember.
Did you
and I can't even
hands?
Probably. I don't know.
But it is different. Like I think back, like okay, college or whatever. We're in a club. We're in a bar. I don't want to lose you. I'm gonna hold your hand.
You know, I do feel like it does feel very middle school.
Yeah,
where it'd be like they held hands.
Yes,
it's like oh my gosh, they held hands.
Right, it was such a big deal. Or like we're going through a haunted house. We're holding hands. Like it was a big deal. It's not that I don't think hand holding is weird. Right. It's just like, I almost just feels like something forced that they like feel like they have to do to be like, we're in a relationship. We're going to just together. Hold hand. And he did the double hand hold.
He did. Maybe his love language is physical touch.
Maybe it is.
I remember the As Told by Ginger episode. It was like, where the fingers laced, our hands clasped.
As Told by Ginger was such an underrated show.
It was such a good show. And it just like, what I loved about that show is they were cartoons that changed their clothes.
And their hairstyles. And they like just taught you about like preteen and teen life.
I would love to be able to watch that show again.
It's probably on YouTube or something.
I might look for it.
I know. I loved that show, even though, you know, I feel a little weird about actual gingers in real life. when it was a cartoon, it was different.
I know, and she had like the geeky friends.
I know, and
Macy.
Who was Macy? Who was the popular girl?
Courtney Miranda.
Remember they had like the sleepover episode.
I know, and then where you'd put a bra in the freezer, like literally remembering some of that stuff they taught, even the like fingers lace stands clapped. It's like I feel like I learned so much. Or they talk about like making out and stuff.
Remember, speaking of like bra in the freezer, remember like the other stupid sleepover things, like I'm gonna put her hands in water,
make you pee the bed. It's like why are we doing that? Why do you want your friend to pee your sleeping bag? That's crazy.
Oh my god, the fact that we would bring sleeping bags
like we're outside. In a tent. We're literally in someone's house.
And you'd bring over your sleeping bag. Or you're on the floor in your friend's room. Oh my god, that is so funny. Why would we bring sleeping bags? Did other people do that?
And then like the sleeping bag was supposed to help from the hard ground.
There's like virtually no padding.
No.
Oh my gosh. Or you see all those like funny videos where it's like, you know, when you have friends over and you forget to give them blankets and then they're down there using like carpet remnants. Yeah. Like that was so true, especially with pillows.
I know. You're already on the ground, and then you're like using your decorative pillow. Or like you roll up your shirt that you brought. Do you remember that one, like that New Year's Eve?
In high school?
Yeah, when we
the worst one ever.
I feel like that was a situation where we're like, just like, everybody else is in a bed. We're just on the ground,
shoved in the corner on the floor.
And that's what that reminds me of every time.
That was sad. Everybody like had fun, like, and we for some reason decided not to go out and have fun. I know. We were so like. We remember did we take somebody's phone?
Yeah.
Or was it our own phone?
It was the girl's
And we
house.
were like, save us.
I know. Please go pick us up. They abandoned us.
Oh my god. And everybody fell asleep except for us.
Yeah.
Phantom of Hannah's children's toys. Oh, that was funny. And then remember the other girls, there were only like 5 of us there. There were 3 girls and then the 2 of us, and they were taking photos together, but they weren't including us. No.
But we were still on the same couch.
Yeah. And then we're just sitting there like, okay. Like,
this is really fun. It's like many maybe the TV was on and we were just staring at it and then we're like,
why did we not do anything? I remember like other like guys went to like a party. Why did we not?
I don't know.
Oh god, we were losers that year.
Anyway,
we got a little off track there. Okay.
Yeah, I mean, we'll see. I mean, it's like, I don't know. It's cute, I guess, that they're holding hands, but I don't know.
When I saw the photos from inside the restaurant and it is not busy, I was just like, do we still need to hold hands while we're walking to the table? Like, I don't know. I mean, it's not that weird, but I guess it's just weird to think of yourself in that situation. Like, that's where I'm just like, would I do that?
I know, and I can't even think of right now if me and my husband hold hands. I guess sometimes we will, but I feel like... I don't know. I feel like one of us is pushing the cart with the kids and the other one's hanging on the other one. Like,
it'd be a little weird if like you guys were trying to link while wrangling the children.
Or each one of us has one hand on the cart and the other hand holding each other's hand.
So you can still have the equal sides to push. What do you think about all the Jada Pinkett Smith stuff?
I don't get like, I don't know. I feel like with like some of these celebrities that were famous for so long or like married to famous people for so long are just so out of touch that they can't even like, you can like if like if I just went to you and I was like, yeah, me and Brett have been separated for 3 years. Wouldn't you be like,
I'd be
what?
flabbergasted.
What are you talking about? And we're just like living life together, like going to pick up the kids.
And you never once mentioned it ever.
Nobody knows.
It's just, and I honestly haven't been following it too closely because
I was trying not to pay attention.
Yeah, I don't really care that much, but it's just like nothing is making sense. Like I get this is all from her tell-all book or whatever, but like I just do people care? Like I don't know.
Yeah, just kind of like, what do you mean you haven't been together? And then she's all like, when he called me his wife, I was like, who is she talking to?
Yeah, or like then when she's like, I didn't cheat on him because the entanglement was while we were already separate. Like, then why did you have that huge thing on Red Table Talk
where he was like on there and you're like
and you're working through it? Like, then why did you do that if you were separated?
No, it almost seems like made up.
Well, and I thought it was really weird how it started to kind of come out, her random new tidbits of information that she would just throw out like breadcrumbs every day. And then Will Smith was just silent.
Yeah.
And I'm like,
has he said anything yet?
Yeah, he did. But his comment was super generic. Like, you know, I support her, you know, good for her for writing this book. It wasn't anything about actual content. It was just like, she's great for writing this. Like, speak your truth, you know, that kind of stuff. But it's almost just like, how many more times is she going to humiliate this man?
Yeah, it's just like, I don't get why you're doing this, why you're saying that, why you even talked about, how did we find out about the entanglement? Or did the guy come out?
I honestly can't even remember if he did come and say something. I feel like there was some rumor, like something started it and it wasn't her. Okay, and then she was forced to kind of address it on Red Table Talk, and then Will Smith. I mean, but that was an emotional thing where it seemed like, wow, you stepped outside of your marriage, and they totally framed it as that.
And there's been that whole like rumor thing that they have an open marriage and blah blah blah. That they're always been vague,
but they would like
deny it, but then they'd be like, whatever he does or whatever I do. You have to be able to look at the other one at the end of the day. And if you're okay with what you did. And it's just like all this like dancing around these like really like intense questions.
And then it's like she moved out. Like they fully were not living together. And now it's like they're saying the kids are relieved that they don't have to keep this secret. Like I guess was it the pressure where everybody's like, oh, I want that Jada and Will love, like that's such beautiful like example of black love, and now they didn't want to ruin that.
I know. Or like even so after the slap thing, that's sorry, I have a sore throat, everyone. So after the slap, you let everyone like believe you guys were still together for what? He calls you his wife. For what?
Right.
And now you're going to come out and say you guys weren't even together when all that happened and you were so shocked that he got upset about it? It just doesn't make sense.
No, the things aren't adding up right. Like it just, I don't know. And then we throw in the random like Tupac stuff.
Yeah, it's like this. My true. It's like
Tupac had alopecia. Did he? I mean,
I know. And like, maybe if he wanted people to know that, he would have said it before he passed away.
Or like why share that random piece of information? Like I just don't, why did we need to know that?
I know.
If it's even true. And then I saw a TikTok of a woman that was like, she is lying and I have the receipts. And it was about like her saying in an interview, and I guess it's in the book too, where she's like, he proposed to me when he was at Rikers Island. And this woman like went back and got the timeline, and he was full on engaged or actually married to this other woman, and he was only at Rikers for a few months, and like the timeline did not add up whatsoever. Like there were multiple other things, and so that just makes me question, I guess,
all of it.
Yeah.
Or like, are you even telling the truth about any of this? Like, are you guys even really not together? Like,
Right.
are you like?
And then
know,
I saw
seems delusioned.
It does. And the most recent thing was, this book actually helped our marriage, and like we might be moving back in. What? I just don't get it. Like, I don't get why you're sharing all this.
Right.
I don't get why you kept this facade up for so long. I mean, they went to red carpets all the time.
That's why it's like, it's so
like, I
weird.
don't, and like with the entanglement thing, why was it even a big deal if you were separated?
Right.
Like, I just don't understand it. And it's so convoluted. Like, I can't even keep up. And the fact that Will is just saying virtually nothing makes me feel like he's just there like, oh, what is happening?
Or it reminds me of like Tom Sandoval being like, it's part of our brand.
Yeah.
We didn't really like each other. Like, I could feel like she's gonna like start saying that now.
Well, and I don't mean to sound like rude when I say this, but like, what is Jada Pinkett Smith's brand?
Right.
Like, I know she has
being married to Will.
Yeah, and I mean, I know that she had read Table Talk, and that kind of got axed from the YouTube thing, and I heard that it was, Facebook. I heard that it was coming back, but I don't know if that's
I thought I heard
true.
it was coming back too.
But I mean, and maybe I'm not aware of all the things that she's doing, but she's not in movies anymore.
I don't think so.
So, like, what ruse did you need to keep going, I guess?
Right.
I don't know. It's just weird.
It was weird. I don't even know.
It just seems like you're just looking for random attention. You don't care how you
like
get it.
Or trying to do like shock factor.
Yeah. And she's suddenly doing all these interviews. I don't know. It's weird. And every day we're getting new stuff, and I just don't know how to feel about it, honestly. The other thing you sent me that I couldn't see if Michelle Williams is only narrating Brittany's book or if she's also doing some. Like, I couldn't.
Well, in some other books, like I think Kris Jenner's book, she like did the like
forward
opener thing. Yeah. And then somebody else read the rest of the book in the Bella Twins.
Oh, yeah.
Theirs was like that too, where they read the intro and then somebody else read the rest of it.
That's interesting.
So I don't know if they're going to do it like that.
I just
wanted to hear Brittany
I know it
tell
would
the story.
be.
But like I said, I think I sent to you, like Michelle Williams would be good for narrating, but I just really wanted to hear Brittany.
And what a random choice, honestly.
I know.
Like, what relation does this have to Brittany at all? I mean, and why Michelle? Why not just choose a random person who this is their job?
Right.
Yeah.
I know. I wondered about that too.
I know. I would have loved to hear Brittany do it, but I feel
if
like
I got to read it, or if we got to read it, I'd be like, oh yes.
I know.
Gimme.
Oh my gosh, I would be salivating for it. But we won't get to listen to that because we both purchased physical copies.
Yes. Maybe at some point. Well, I would have wanted to listen to it more if she was going to read it.
I know, same. It just wasn't worth it to get in line for the wait list for the audiobook because we would be way behind if we did that.
Like years.
Yeah. So, I mean, anyway. Okay, guys, we are really excited to announce another collaboration with the brand Happy Earth. They make the cutest clothes and they are sustainable and made really responsibly. We are getting an order in soon, so we're really excited to show you guys some of their cute fashions, especially with the temperatures cooling down here in Ohio. For fall, these are going to be so perfect. So they have everything from organic sweatshirts to organic joggers, really cute graphic tees, and the best part about this brand is that they actually give back to the environment. So with every purchase, you are helping to fight climate change, plant trees, and even clean up trash. So for a nice discount, you guys can use Emotional Support Water Bottle Pod at checkout for a wonderful 20% off. That's at happyearthapparel.com. Use code Emotional Support Water Bottle Pod for 20% off at checkout. Oh, have you been listening to, I don't know if you have topics, I'm just like throwing all of mine out here, but have you been listening to Speidi's podcast, Heidi and Spencer? Okay, so actually they've been having really good interviews, and it's mostly like people within the industry, like execs or producers or managers, and it is so interesting to get a inside look. And this most recent one, his name was David Weintraub, and I don't know if I'm saying that right or if I even wrote it down right, but I think he was either one of the producers or he was involved in this new documentary about the Kardashians called House of Kardashian.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, and I heard about it because Heidi and Spencer got like an exclusive first look, and then I heard Heather McDonald had it too, and it's only available in the UK right now for some reason.
What?
But like the whole thing behind, I guess it kind of goes from like the beginnings of like their fame and stuff. And it's basically this guy is saying that like he was in on the deal with the sex tape.
Oh, I think I kind of remember Heather like kind of mentioning
touching
something
on
about
it.
that. Yeah.
And it was like fascinating. You'll have to listen to it, but to hear him give his like inside scoop, and then to hear what Heidi and Spencer thought too, and like what they know about the industry and opportunities that they were given to, it was really just a intriguing listen. And this guy, David, he was like, he manages Ray J, and he was like, yeah, I mean, if they want to come and start spinning this narrative again, like we have receipts. And then Spencer's like, well, but didn't we see him when Ray J like finally had enough and went on an Instagram live? And this guy was like, oh no, there are more, and it's pretty damning. Yeah. So basically, for those of you who don't know, I don't know how you could not know, but
it is kind of confusing though.
Yeah,
until like Ray J finally like came out.
Yeah, I mean, and I feel like I didn't really know everything because I also stopped caring because it's not really that big of a deal anymore.
I know, and I think too it was like, okay, if they want to pretend like, because at first it didn't really seem like they were blaming Ray J, but then it kind of turned into that.
So basically they're saying that the sex tape was not leaked by Ray J. It was actually a whole deal that was orchestrated, and they all kind of agreed to play their certain roles in it and basically act like that Ray J leaked this and whatever. And I'm sure he was compensated quite nicely. But then, you know, we all went through, and that's what kind of like shot them to fame, yada, yada, the Kardashians to fame. Then when they moved from, and I can't remember what the production company was at E, and they said it, but it doesn't matter. They moved from them to Hulu. Then that's when they did that random thing where like Kanye went and got the tape.
So was that off faked.
Yes. So Kanye actually did meet with Ray J, and it was more of like, okay, yeah, I'll give you this, whatever. But then when they spun it on the show, it was painting Ray J to be this bad guy who was threatening to release other things and all this stuff. And that was never the case. And that's when Ray J got mad that they used that as a storyline.
What are you doing?
And then he went on Instagram and like had a whole PowerPoint presentation basically. But then this David guy was saying, because Heidi and Spencer were kind of like, well, but aren't, you know, Kim and Chris in control of this, and wouldn't they know about this narrative or this storyline? And he was like, no, at this point, like I don't think that they're as involved. It's just like the studio, Hulu, is like, okay, how can we orchestrate this? How can we make an impact? How can we get publicity? And then they just obviously went along with it. But yeah, so Ray J basically just had enough, because at this point it doesn't even matter. Like nobody cares if, I mean, with OnlyFans and all these things, it doesn't matter anymore. You know what I mean? So but I guess Ray J decided, I don't want to be the actor and play my role anymore.
Right. Well, I mean, I guess it would be hard for him too. It's like, doesn't he have like a full blown kids and everything? He's like, I don't want to be a part of this nonsense anymore.
Right. I mean, and if they weren't going to loop him in and pay him, you know, I mean.
And then they're going to like, again, call him this bad guy.
Yeah.
It's like, got this second. And even in that episode, it didn't make any sense.
No, it didn't.
They're like, there's another tape, or there's more tapes, and I got to get the hard drive.
Right.
It's like, the hard drive?
Like and are we supposed to believe that Ray J held on to that for decades? Like, I don't know. But it really was fascinating. And Heidi was like, I mean, I don't think it matters. Like, if that's what you chose to do, then do it. Like, okay, that's what catapulted you. But then she's like, I don't think that the actual tape or the whole plan was the problem. It was when they decided to like double back on it and bring it all back up and try to make Ray J the bad guy again.
Right.
Which I agree. They didn't need to bring it back up. I thought that was stupid.
That was honestly crazy. And she's like, no, there's another thing of it. And remember there was like the thing too with one of her kids was like playing on Roblox or something. Yeah, and like an ad popped up for it or whatever. And she was kind of like, what is this?
Right.
And it was like, I get like you don't want your kid to see it, but like also you wanted it out there. Right. Like they're going to hear about it and regardless.
I mean, it's a really simple Google search. I don't know why kids would ever want to look that up about their parents. But, you know, their friends... Right, when they get to be teenagers.
And they're like, is this a thing? Yeah. And then you Google it and then you get all the articles about it.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know.
It was just really interesting. And because, I don't know, multiple episodes ago, we kind of were talking about the Kardashians. But I go back and forth with like wanting to watch it and not, because it's just like, I mean, we don't need to dive into that because we already did in that one episode. But, I do want to watch this documentary when it comes out, because
it does sound good.
Their rise to fame is really fascinating, and I don't even care if it's calculated. I feel like you don't get to be at that level, especially at the time that they were, without being calculated and like being smart about deals, you know?
Especially when you're not trying to be like an actor, singer. Like you literally just want to be famous to be famous.
Yeah. And it was interesting, Spencer, because remember he had that Princess of Malibu with Brody. And he was like, yeah, there was one party. I don't know if it was boat party, Brody's party. It doesn't matter. And there in the background, like Kim and I think Courtney, and it just like flashes to them for a second and the camera like goes away from them. But it's like he was saying, like, no, the narrative that they're like, oh, people always said we should be on reality television. Like, no,
they were putting
yourselves in there.
Wasn't Courtney like on a random reality show too? Do you remember that?
They were
like a rich people. girls.
There was one that this guy was talking about. I can't remember. It was like Sons of Hollywood or something like that. And Scott was on it. And then they appeared on that show, he said, too. But I don't remember. It was
she
Courtney.
was on like this, like, where they had to do like, I wonder if I can look it up. Like work on a dude ranch or something. It was a bunch of rich girls. Hold on, maybe I can.
Was it like an MTV show or something?
It was like a really obscure one.
I don't know.
Hold on a second.
It is just, and I mean, I don't, obviously they made their careers and I don't fault them for that at all, but it is just interesting how narratives can be spun so differently.
Filthy Rich Cattle Drive.
What was that on?
Let's see here.
And that was just Courtney.
Yeah, it was like a bunch of... hold on a second. A reality show with sons and daughters of celebrities and or very rich big name parents in the corporate world. They are taken on a cattle drive where their ability to cope without the normal luxuries of life are tested. So it sounds like it was
Does
like
it have
simple
the year?
Life. 2005.
Oh, so that was before.
Yeah, this would have been. It reminds me of like that Stassi. Remember Stassi's like on some rich girl?
Yes, I do remember
reality
that
show. I feel like it was like that.
Remember when Keeping Up with the Kardashians first was coming out? And like it was just insane.
It was.
And I remember at first being like, who wants to watch this? Like this family, like I don't care. And those were the famous last words.
I know, and all of a sudden we were watching it all the time.
But like we said before, it was so different then because it really was like cameras were capturing their crazy family. You know, it was,
and they were even though they were very privileged, they were still more normal, where now when you're watching it, it's like, oh, these are just like really rich people.
Yeah, because even their house at the time, like Chris and Bruce at the time, their house, it wasn't like, I mean, I'm sure it was expensive because of Calabasas,
right?
But it wasn't like over the top.
Yeah,
I mean,
mega mansions they have now.
Yeah, it was pretty modest, actually.
And I do think like just the whole narrative around the Kardashians, like they're famous for not, or just famous for being famous. And like the mom, you know, it was like this, like we were just talking about earlier, like what they did to get famous. And it's just like, I don't know. It's like, okay,
who cares?
I know at this point, it's like if they're okay with it and everything, then I feel like people should, like, if you don't like them, then just don't watch them or support them.
Yeah.
But I don't know. It is interesting, though, that they did do all this work to become famous. And now it is kind of like destroying them in a way.
Yeah.
Which I do think is kind of interesting to kind of, I guess, even though it's hard to watch, like, families fight and everything, it does kind of like pull back the curtain a little bit and like, okay, yeah, they have all the millions of dollars, but they're not getting along and they're getting cheated on and they're getting divorces. And
it's like, well, just money doesn't fully make you happy, or fame doesn't make you happy, or fix your problems, or be careful what you wish for, and all these other like cliches. But it is just, yeah, it is a lot different from how it used to be. And you just, I don't know, even though the sex tapes started it, it's like they still had to do a lot of other things to get where they are.
Even if the sex tape thing didn't happen, I still think they would have
found a way.
Yeah. Like they were gonna be famous, whatever they had to do. Like they were putting themselves with the people they needed to put themselves with. I mean, you don't just like randomly hang out with Paris Hilton and organize her closet.
Or like, yeah, Kim got on the hills because she was organizing closets. Like that was her little business.
Yep.
Yeah, what a crazy. It is really wild.
That'll be interesting to like hear that whole story.
I know. I'm kind of excited. I think it's really long.
Dark.
Spencer said it was like 6 hours, but it's broken up into 3 parts. But he said it flew by. Like it didn't feel like it was that long. I love listening to the things that Heidi and Spencer say too, where it's like they were ahead of the game, or like their ideas, like the world wasn't ready for them.
Right.
Like I think it was in the episode before this one, and they said that they had like an idea for a reality show, and I can't even remember the premise of it right now, but they like pitched it to different companies and stuff, and they were like, no. And then flash forward a few years, and now there it is hitting the airways. So like they were just too far ahead, and there was like multiple things that they said where it's like we were so close to the huge, fame and money and stuff. And Heidi said that they were approached to make a sex tape.
Oh, I believe it.
Me too. But it like, they chose not to, or it didn't go through, whatever. She said that they like weighed their options.
I know.
I mean, that was the time for it,
Right. I know, and it's interesting the way people kind of like, and I know people still hate Spencer from back in the day, but I do think it's with them, I feel like people forget, like, no, they like actually were stars and like making tons of money from reality TV, but we all chose to like dislike them.
Right.
For whatever. I mean, I get why they all didn't like them because of, the like Lauren and stuff, and Lauren was just so much more of a sympathetic character at the time.
They made her be that way.
Yep. So I'm not surprised people don't like them anymore, but it's like I feel like people discredit them, like they were there too, like they were at all the parties, they were hanging out with everybody, and they were making the money. They just blew it.
Well, and we didn't, during the Hills, like we didn't know that was fake.
No.
At the time, like we genuinely did not know.
I know. We were even talking about this earlier with some of the other reality shows. It's like almost nothing on like MTV at that time and VH1 were real.
Right. And it's just, even after the finale of The Hills, where like the curtain comes down, I still was like, no, like this is, there's no way.
They're just making a joke of it.
Yeah, like I don't believe it. But then you hear all these stories and you're like, oh my God.
And what like an insane thing for that Adam DeVello
to
do. Like to take people's real life and they're like them as real people and just totally make like a story out of it and then keep it going. Like it's just insane.
Well, because like Laguna Beach wasn't really like that, right?
No, not that I'm aware of.
Yeah, like I'm sure there were definitely like, some things.
Like Kristen, when they had their Kristen Cavallari and Stephen Coletti, when they had their little podcast, they kind of would say like we'd have to re-talk about stuff. We're like, but we already talked about this like off camera when it actually happened. So there was obviously that type of stuff,
but not
they
like
weren't
the
manufactured.
Yeah. Well, and Heidi and Spencer, they said in this episode, they got to the point where it was literally just a job for them, and they'd be like, listen, we don't want to spend 8 hours doing this. Just tell us what you want and we'll do it. So then they would be in and out on set, because they just would make the TV.
I know. Sometimes though, when like, which I don't even think they're still making episodes, but that Was It Real podcast.
Oh, yeah.
When everybody but like Heidi and Spencer, I feel like Heidi and Spencer talk about it with like a rational point of view. Even though I know that Heidi got a lot of hate in the comments on those episodes.
Which was so silly.
I know. But it's like the other ones still sound like Audrina really sounds like she's not sure. Like she's like, no, that was fake, but also this was real. And it's like this back and forth thing where it's like she almost doesn't even know what was real and what was fake.
Consider the source.
I know. It's just interesting that like she's
entwined in it
so much. And like even when I listened to her book, it was kind of like that too, where it was like I don't know. You just like, she never clearly says like it was fake or it wasn't. It's like, well, yeah, I went on a date with that guy.
I genuinely,
Right. But I didn't actually like him. I was dating Justin Bobby, and it was like,
it's weird because when like Heidi and Spencer will talk about it, they'll be like, no, they would do this for Lauren, or Lauren wanted this. So it seemed like Lauren and Heidi and Spencer, and maybe I think Brody just kind of went along with stuff. Yeah. But it's like those three were really the only ones that were fully like doing the more manipulative. Right. Not like just manipulative in terms of making the good television. Right. You know, and like Lauren wanted herself to be portrayed in a certain way. MTV wanted her to be portrayed in a certain way. And so they made that happen.
Right. And it, on some, like even on that podcast, that wasn't real. When the producers are on there, they're like, Lauren was just so good at being like appearing and like being vulnerable on camera. And that's why people could like sympathize with her more, because you were getting all the emotions from her when she was actually mad. And it seemed like she would actually wait to have these conversations for the camera, and not, you know, like on Laguna where it's like, we already had the conversation. She was like waiting and doing it.
So she was camera. Like self-producing too, but in kind of a different way than Heidi like and
she's
Spencer.
Actually, I don't even know. She's actually feeling it, but she's not gonna tell you that she's feeling it until on camera. And I don't know. That's just a really
I don't know. Part of me would love to hear her full perspective because she doesn't really talk about it. But then on the other hand, I'm like,
I know it's been so really long. Like, but I do think if she would just come out and just like give us something about it. I think people could move on. Right. But it's because she's so like
tight-lipped.
Yeah. That we like can't get the closure.
I know.
Like,
it's
pathetic
weird.
Losers. But it does feel like we're getting like Heidi and Spencer's side, but then like Audrina, Whitney, and they're not really giving us anything.
Well, because there were even things with Audrina, and that was a real podcast where she's like, yeah, I really didn't know what was going on. Like, I was completely out of the loop. I wasn't filming with people. Like, they were still kind of on the outside, you know?
Right. Which it's just like such a bizarre situation. And like I said, if Lauren could just come out and clear up some
stuff. But she never will. No, and to be completely honest, like I fed right into it. Like I was Team Lauren. Like I disliked Heidi and Spencer for a long time. And it wasn't really until like for some reason I started following Spencer on Snapchat.
Well, wasn't there something else that kind of like, I feel like, because I would like rewatch it kind of a lot. And I do remember like feeling like, actually, Lauren's being kind of out of line here, or like taking it too dang personally with the Heidi and Spencer thing. And then it was like, and then Heidi and Spencer would keep doing these like reality shows and still feeding into their character and stuff.
Yeah, because they did a ton of reality shows.
I'm a reality. Or I'm a
Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. They like did Celebrity Big Brother in England. They did what was that called? The mother-daughter experiment or
boot camp.
Oh yeah,
relationship boot camp.
There was something with Heidi and her mom that they did.
They did. There's marriage boot camp, and then there's like when they do the mom and daughter stuff. Or the
they did
stuff.
A lot of shows.
And they're like still feeding into this character
it's just
thing.
Like they really just are so smart though. And they just look at it like this is our job. We are doing a job. It's like villains. We're like we are actors. We're going into this. Like I know we're getting the check. Let's go.
And I think that's why the Hills, what was it?
The reboot.
Yeah, the reboot.
New Beginnings.
New Beginnings. That's what it was called. Did so bad.
Yeah.
Because it was still this weird limbo where everybody was like wanting to do a reality show but didn't want to.
Well, and that was, they kind of said too, and they've talked about it before, but they're just like, yeah, we were mad at Brody because Brody like didn't want to play, and he wasn't like, he didn't want certain things on there or whatever. And then it just felt like the cast couldn't gel, and the things like didn't really seem genuine. Like, I don't know.
And it felt very much like the Tara Reid, where like she was stuck in where she, like the years she was famous.
Yeah.
And I feel like they were all came back, except for like Heidi and Spencer, and we're in that defense mode.
Right.
Of like, well, no, I'm, you know, I can't do this or say this, or, and it's like, I don't know. It's just such a weird dynamic. And then you spend all that time telling us, I know I'm like we're still bitter about it, but it's like you spent all this time telling us how fake the show was for you to come back and do the show.
I know.
Like, it was just so ludicrous.
Well, and it was, because I remember watching the whole thing play out through Snap, where like Spencer was trying so hard for so long to get the Hills to come back. Like, he thought that was the ticket.
Right.
And MTV wanted to do a show with just Heidi and Spencer. And he's like, no, bring back the Hills. And then they did, and that crashed and burned. And now it's like, I think they have a lot of other things that are great opportunities. And, but it's just like crazy that, again, they almost had it where it could have just been them. And if it was just them, I think it would have been successful, because they are entertaining.
Better.
Yeah, and it would have been more real, because if it's just them, they're obviously not going to still portray themselves as villains.
Right.
You know, for what? Like,
well, they can still do the show with Jax Taylor and Mike the Situation. I picked out a new couple to add to that. Slade and Gretchen.
Oh my gosh,
We've gotta have these, like, because Slade kind of has that reputation,
so
like that.
slimy.
I can't believe they're still together. Like,
I can't believe either. I mean, who else is he gonna be with? And I feel like she's just with him out of pity at this point.
Or like he dotes on her, and like waits on her hand and foot, and I feel like she loves it. But anyway, they all need to do this show. I'm telling you.
Well, Spencer went on it for like as a host of. I don't even. Are they doing challenges? I haven't watched it.
The villain one?
Yeah.
I haven't watched it either.
Well, because he said that he went on for like, you know, one of the episodes, and they kind of roasted him. They're like, who's that?
I don't know.
He's like, why am I here? What's going on? But anyway, it was interesting. You should listen to, I should make their podcast. Again, another podcast, another recommendation. No, I have a different one, but I wonder if people recommend our podcast. I don't think so. But I would recommend to you to listen to it, because it really is interesting. Yeah, there hasn't been one episode so far that I'm like, oh, that was lame. Like, they're actually getting, and I liked their old podcast, but this one is more like, they are getting people who are kind of on the inside of the industry.
I know, and I feel like nobody's really doing that right now. Like, you might have one guest here and there on some of them, but nobody's like really doing that.
Right. And then they ask them, like, how would you help make us famous and get more than just our 16th minute? And it's just like, I don't know, I've been enjoying it. And they're so good too. It's really hard as a host or an interviewer to just not talk or interrupt another person. I mean, even when we're talking, sometimes it's like I think about my thought, but you're still talking, but I don't want to forget what I said. You know, like but they do such a good job of asking their questions and just letting their guest go on and on for however long, and then they're just like, wow, like so, and then follow. Like, they really are good.
I know. I listened to Nick Vial's
Heather Dubrow. Me too.
And I was thinking that about him too, as much as sometimes
not
that I don't like him, but he's got that type of personality. But I like that too, that he, especially in like the climate that we're in right now, where everybody's so defensive and always has to feel like they have to defend themselves. It's nice to have somebody just like let them speak, or like let them just get out their points, and then kind of counteract them with them in a non-combative way.
Right. Or listen to them and then ask questions for clarity.
Yes. And it's just like, it just was kind of nice to like listen to him interview her. And like
he is a good interviewer, I think. It's when he's not interviewing that I find him more annoying.
He definitely seems like the type of person, though, that actually is interested in what other people are saying.
Yeah, I agree. And I think when he's trying to help people, when he does his like Ask Nick office hours stuff, I think he genuinely does want to like give his input and give advice, but just sometimes the way he delivers it, I'm like, oh, or when he said before that he wants to be a therapist, I'm like, okay, well, being a therapist isn't just about telling people what to do,
giving advice about crazy relationship stuff, but
or even we've talked so many times how the household sometimes makes our skin crawl. I find them more annoying than him.
Yeah. And I feel like he doesn't like push back enough with them sometimes.
I know,
when they talk.
but he will with like random stuff.
Yeah. He's like, no. Yeah, because I've definitely heard them like not fight, but like go at it, I guess.
Yeah. Anyway, I had that on our OC talk, I wrote down Heather on there, so it kind of ties in. I know.
Well, we could talk about Heather now, maybe, or take a break.
Do you want to take a break? Sure. Did you have any other timely topics before we move on?
No, I had just like a weird week where I was like so tired and kept falling asleep, and I didn't really consume much media.
Yeah. I will say everything that I wrote down and we kind of talked about literally was from the last like day, like that I just wrote it down and thought about it. So I didn't do the great job either about picking things up, and none of those things were anything personal. It was all just
random. Anyway, we'll take a break.
All right. The temperatures are starting to cool down, and you know what that means. It is cookie making season. So instead of making your own cookie dough or going and buying that prepackaged stuff at the store that we know isn't super healthy, why not try something that is actually made with good for you ingredients? That is where dough comes in. These cookie doughs are ready to make right out of the tub, and you can also eat the cookie dough raw because it is vegan and gluten-free. The best part is that it's enhanced with different vitamins and supplements that can support your immunity or help stabilize your mood. We have tried a few of these different flavors, and we're always eager to try new ones. They are so delicious. We've tried the donuts as well, which are so perfect to put in your lunchbox for work, and we're going to be trying some of the delicious spreads that they have soon. So if any of that sounds good to you, go to Eat Dough. That's dough spelled DEUX.com and use our promo code WATERBOTTLE for 10% off. That's eatdough.com and use promo code WATERBOTTLE. And we're back. Do you want to talk about the episode first, or do you want to talk about her on the Files?
I guess I don't care.
Neither. Let's talk about her first, because that was a little bit more interesting.
It was. Actually, things were... I thought... I just love the way she spoke so, like, rational and, like... I don't even... Like, it was just nice to hear her just talking, like, very reflectively. Mm-hmm. And I don't know. It was a good interview.
I thought it was good, too. I do agree, and she said it herself, that the way that she speaks and maybe just, like, the tones of her voice or the vocabulary she uses can maybe kind of rub some of the women the wrong way. But unless Heather is this manipulative psychopath, right? I just don't believe that she actually is spreading all these rumors and lies and calculated all these things. Like, I genuinely think she just says what she thinks might be funny or lighthearted or whatever, or helpful, and it's because of how she said it, which is literally just how she speaks, it gets twisted around. Right.
No, I could definitely see that. Even like when they brought up the snuffleupagus thing again.
I'm so tired of it. But I'm glad that she's finally said, because even in like the reunion, I feel like it wasn't fully addressed, where she literally said, Emily said, like, my hair is crazy. I'm going to have to do something with this. And that's when Heather said, oh, yeah, you look like a snuffleupagus. Because her hair did look like a snuffleupagus.
Even the color of it and everything. And that's not even like a mean thing. It's like, it just sort of happened. And I did like that Nick Viall kind of brought up, like, well, you know, if her feelings were hurt, her feelings were hurt. Mm-hmm. But I think the point that Heather was trying to make is that it doesn't matter what Heather said, or if Tamara had said it, it was always going to be Heather was this meanie, was saying mean things.
Right. I know. She was very well spoken, and it was enjoyable to listen to her because, like you said, she just was rational. And I feel like, you know, with Tamara or Shannon or, you know, even like Gina, they a lot of times like throw so much unnecessary emotion into it. And Heather can just kind of
wait, hold on. I almost said it. Penalize, like compartmentalize.
She can do that, and that makes
she can. She talks very level-headed. Like, I just feel like she's more of that type of personality where she doesn't just fly off the handles like some of these other women do.
I know.
I like too that Nick Viall was like, well, maybe it is that you're better than them.
Yeah. Well, because
I know we're all like kind of thinking it.
Yeah, we're all thinking it.
And I mean, she does just come from a different background, really. I mean, she really is rich. Her husband is rich, and they do really well for themselves. And I feel like she really just, she wants her kids to do well, and she doesn't have drama with their kids like some of the other housewives have had. And it's like, I feel like that's really important to her to not have it be like that.
Right. And I mean, I think appearances are important to Heather, but not in a way where she has to make this facade.
Right.
It's just like she likes when things look nice. Yeah. You know, like when she throws her parties or in her home, like she enjoys that stuff. And you know, I just think that the other ladies kind of twist that as like she's so uppity. But I mean, I don't really think that she is. I loved when they said she drove herself here, she parked her own car, she did her own makeup. Like, I don't think that she actually acts like she's this queen of the world, but they portray her to be that.
And it's like, do I think that maybe it can seem like she's like that, but I don't think she has bad intentions. And I just feel like this whole season, they were really trying to make it seem like Heather was this evil person who was trying to hurt everyone's feelings.
I know. I was surprised, not to dive into the episode or the reunion.
They kind of go hand in hand.
Yeah, I know. They're like meshed in there. But I was kind of surprised that she came on the Viall Files. I mean, not that it's not a good podcast. It is, and he gets good guests.
Right.
But I just was just kind of surprised that she
I was surprised too. And then when they said there was like a story where they had already met, and I was like, oh, okay.
No, I really liked her interview. I liked the things that she said. I liked how she kind of gave a little bit more background to stuff. I like how she added a few things that weren't shown.
I know. I wish we could know some of that. I mean, I don't think it would change how I felt about the season, but I wish we could have gotten a little bit more of that explanation, because it's still like, after the second reunion episode, still felt like something was missing to this, whatever was going on.
I don't even know what was going on, honestly. I mean, I don't understand. The biggest thing from me, which like I wrote down, I didn't write down a ton of notes from this, honestly, but I don't understand how still, after we all watched this season and the ladies all watched this season, how are we at part 2 of the reunion and we're still blaming Heather from this? And how did Tamra walk away completely unscathed?
Literally. And then she gives this phony cry apology that I'm like, how could you even buy that? And she did the same thing to Jen, and it was like, no, how can you it literally makes me feel like Gina and actually Gina did good, sorry, Emily and Shannon were just like delusioned.
There was such clear divide on the 2 couches. It was crazy, but
rational talkers
and the ones that are living in some other reality, like it was just bizarre. And I just don't understand how like no one wanted to call Tamra out. I mean, it just solidifies that they are all afraid of Tamra. Mm-hmm. I mean, she even told Andy to F off and shut up, and Andy just sat there and took it.
I know.
I mean, that was ridiculous.
It was. It's like, why? Who are you to say that, Tamra?
Right.
And just the
out
way
of nowhere, too.
I know. And she just like flies off the handle all the time.
And then she uses, well, I did drink a lot more than I usually do this season. Okay, but like you're also acting unnecessarily combative right now, and I don't think you've had that much to drink. And you've done this on seasons past.
I know, and I like that Heather, like on Nick Viall's podcast, was like, do I think that, or she said something like drinking was like a heightened version of who they were, but that they weren't different people. But Tamra was trying to make it like, I'm just a different person.
This crazy alter ego. Yeah, we all know it's not. Speaking of the drinking thing, and this all happened right after, or right before Shannon got her DUI, but it was just like, with, again, the couches being separated, Shannon, Tamra, and Emily were the ones, in my opinion, that like were the heavy drinkers this season. And I don't know if they're trying to, they think that makes for better TV, if they're trying to mask something, and but like they really were the ones that I would be like, especially Emily, like her, and we haven't watched previous seasons, but her behavior when she was drinking just seemed so like out of pocket and bizarre and mean. Yeah. And then obviously Shannon, we can dive into that separately in a little bit. That was a whole another avenue. But, and then we just talked about Tamra, like their drinking just really seems like something that you can't keep using as an excuse anymore. And also you're not young women anymore, you know, like get a grip.
I know, like if you're aware of the problem, then stop doing it.
Yeah. Like they said, like, oh, I know I drank more. Okay, well, then
stop.
Right. I just didn't even, the whole thing with Heather was silly, honestly, because we didn't even get
like any resolve.
Yeah, it was just, and I mean, Heather admitted that she doesn't want to get on Tamra's bad side, but it's like she really should just remove herself. We've said it time and time again, hop on over to Beverly Hills. But it's just like, what? Why put yourself through that again? It was so unnecessary. And she is held to a different standard. She is.
She is. I thought something that was interesting too was the fact that they got done filming in November.
Yes.
That's an entire year ago.
I know, because they just filmed the reunion a couple weeks ago.
And even like if just thinking about Vanderpump, it was like kind of a same, like a similar, because didn't they were like done filming, I guess, in the summer.
But they haven't done the reunion yet. Have they? I haven't heard about it.
Oh, no. I meant the previous season from Vanderpump.
Gotcha.
Like, they filmed in the summer, last summer. Yeah. And then there's BravoCon.
Yeah.
And then we found out about the affair. And then they filmed, I guess maybe that was almost a year, too.
Yeah, because the cameras just picked back up in March.
For that thing. And then they were supposed to
they were going to have the reunion. Yeah.
Oh no, it just seemed like
the
such a
timelines
long
are odd.
time.
Yeah.
I know. And then Heather, even in that interview, said some stuff about like last year. And I was confused if she meant last year or last season.
Yeah.
But it just seemed like so far away. Like, dang.
It really did. And then it kind of puts things in a different perspective, too.
It
Know?
does.
I do think the housewives do a pretty good job of not having a ton of leaks, though, which I like. Well, do you want to talk about the Shannon stuff?
Sure.
I thought that first of all, how it kind of went in, how the first part ended with the CPS thing. And it's just absurd that Shannon is still denying responsibility. Like, I didn't mean it like that. I meant it in this other way.
But I was mad at you.
Like,
okay, so then you did say something mean out of anger, and you know you did. And she just like, what? It was like so pointless to even talk to her about it.
And what other way do you mean that CPS was going to get called?
She's like, no, what I meant was if no parents were present, CPS, like,
that isn't what you meant. No, I think it's not what you said.
Right. And it's like, no, I think they're probably going to call grandparents or something. Like, I can't believe they'd automatically go to CPS for that.
I mean, she knew what she was saying, and she just still could not give her an apology. I did think that finally the breakdown of Shannon when she was discussing her relationship with John, I did think it was sad.
No, it was sad. I do think she wants to be loved, and like, I don't know,
self-conscious.
She
for sure.
Definitely is. And I don't know, like, I felt bad for her, but then it was really sad too when they're like, so you're still hanging out with him and posting pictures of him, and then Tamara's like, and I've been telling you not to do this.
Yeah, I've been telling her to stop. Okay, good for you, Tamara.
I know, right?
Way to act like you're the best friend.
I do think it was interesting on the interview with Heather where she was talking about how Shannon's always been like in control of her narrative, which I think just all like.
Well, and I liked how that was kind of brought up on this part of the reunion too, where all the women were like, this is our job on a reality show. We all are sharing stuff. Yeah. And Shannon's like, I've gone through a lot. And everybody's like, so
have we.
We've gone through this. Like, let's rattle
like,
it off.
Look at Jen, first season.
I mean, but I did think that it was sad to see, first of all, Shannon not relent to the actual situation with her and John. She still was spinning her wheels with trying to make it seem like it was all Heather. And then she was like flubbing over her parts of the story and whatever. And then finally she's just like, fine, I'm embarrassed. And I think she really was.
No, I definitely think she was.
But it was interesting, like how Andy even kind of put his 2 cents in when they were talking about like the side conversations that you have off camera. And he's like, that just seems like pretty commonplace that you all would be having that. Like, isn't that normal?
I know. And then one of the things too was it's like, just like some of the stuff that Heather was being accused of saying or whatever. And it was like, isn't it better though that the conversation happened off camera? Right. And it was like, well, you were saying this off camera. Yeah, that's a good thing. Like, I don't know.
So why aren't you mad with the people who brought it up on camera?
Right. Like, I feel like that would be way worse. And they even kept talking about like this off camera stuff, and it was like, but that doesn't matter to the viewers. And I know it brings in context to what's going on now, but like at the reunion and stuff, but it still is like, but we wouldn't even know that. You're bringing it to light.
And part of it when I think was it the first time when Shannon pulled her bravo card and like talked to producers, and that's when she brought up like, John's son hates me and I can't do this. And then she tried to throw that at Heather, and she's like, you are the one that said it on camera. Like, it was almost like she literally didn't even recall that she was the one that did it.
I know.
What else? We already talked about how Tamara somehow got away scot-free. Oh, I would like to know more about Emily's past. Like, we kind of got a little tidbit of it this season. And it's like, I don't like the way Emily acted this season.
Right.
But I do see where, like, you know, her past clearly was traumatic, and I'm sure that she is more guarded, or maybe unconsciously she's kind of jealous of Heather, or maybe her relationship with her kids because she didn't have that. Like, you know, I don't know. Maybe that's where this anger is stemming from. I don't know. Do you have anything else to add? I'm just trying to see. There weren't many, like, other things.
Yeah, it's like there just weren't any conclusions. So it's kind of like dumb. And I know sometimes the reunions just aren't like that. But it's like nobody could apologize.
It was all she said, and we couldn't get to the truth.
Yeah.
What did you think about Gina saying that she might tap out?
I don't know. I think she was like so hurt by the CPS comment. And I don't think she wants to put her kids to... I don't know.
I can't blame her.
No.
Oh, that was the other thing that Heather talked about on the podcast with the kids, where she's like, back when she first started, there was kind of that unspoken rule where it was just, you didn't bring up people's outside careers, and you didn't bring up the kids, and the kids might just walk into the scene because they're young and then they leave. But then when she decided to come back, she kind of made sure it was okay with the kids. But now, like, it is way different. Like, we're seeing all of Jen's kids. We're seeing stuff with Gina's kid. Like, it's very much the kids are part of the narrative, which I guess not to, like, bring up this whole thing, but it kind of goes with what we were talking about last week a little bit, with, like, parents kind of exploiting their kids on social media more, or for shows. And it's not that I think that they're doing that. It's just, I think that's more of the culture now.
Right. I know. Or even like back in the day on the Housewives, when they'd have like their teenagers on there, it like didn't go well for the teenagers.
No.
So I'm kind of like surprised that they would want to have their kids on this at all. I mean, I guess it is hard when you're doing a show about housewives and moms and stuff.
Yeah, and then you don't show the kids.
Right, but I don't know. It just like didn't fare well for the previous kids group.
Well, especially since, I mean, Gina, Jen, they have pretty messy family situations. And it's almost...
Let's not make it worse.
Yeah. Like,
let's not put it on TV.
Right. Or like with the one kid that Jen adopted, and like we talked about before, that really awkward scene with them. But it's like, why put him on there?
I know.
Like, why does he really need it?
I know.
You know what I mean? Like,
right. And it's like, it's not like they were on there much, but I just feel like they shouldn't have been on it, like, even at all.
I know. The last thing I wrote was just that Jen basically didn't speak for the entire second part.
Yeah.
Like, there wasn't really much that... And I felt it wasn't really her fault. It was like a lot of the things...
It was just like the history with Shannon and Heather. They were... Honestly, I didn't think Emily got to speak like at all.
About her stuff, no.
There's like just one time... where they kind of did, but they really didn't.
They
just
moved
went back
past.
to different, yeah.
Did you notice how there were times, and I don't know, again, because like I'm watching the uncensored Peacock version or whatever, like I don't know what is really airing and what's not. But anyway, there were times when you could tell that like a side conversation was happening, but they focused in on certain audio, and it made me just wonder what the real dynamic is. Like,
right, when they're filming a reunion.
Yeah, like, is it a lot of chatter? I mean, I know Andy...
Are they supposed to be quiet?
Yeah, I know that he tries to kind of monitor it. Did they take that audio down for a reason? Like, what was being said? It just made me curious.
I know, or maybe different groups are better about it than others.
Yeah.
Like, maybe they're quiet the whole time, and then sometimes they're like a Shannon who's probably...
blabbing.
Yeah.
Yeah. when she doesn't
wiggling
really need
around,
to be, or having her and Tamara having like a nonsense side conversation,
or when Shannon did like something and then Heather was like, what? And then she's like, I have to go pee, I've been holding it for a long time. It was like, what?
Okay.
Like, fine.
Yeah, I mean, it was kind of disappointing just because we didn't get any resolution to our conflicts, and it was honestly just kind of boring. Like, it didn't really excite me.
No.
And even I watched it the second time and I fast forwarded through a lot of stuff because I'm like, okay, I know what happened. I don't need to rehash this. The other thing I was disappointed about this week was Special Forces. I thought it was kind of a boring episode.
Is it the car one?
When they had to go through.
Sorry, I'm watching both of them, so I keep getting them confused.
Yes, the car one, and then I don't even remember what the second challenge was. Like, I was so checked out of it because I was just.
Did they dive backwards? Again, I'm mixing like into the water.
I think so, honestly, but I just found it boring. Like, nothing really happened. 3 people went home, which annoyed me.
I know. I'm like get genuinely bummed out the way they'll just like wake up and
decide.
Leave.
Yeah,
it's like that on the first season too.
Which I guess, since we know that they get paid the same no matter what, I guess what's the incentive to stay? Right. But it just doesn't make for great television. Like, when they did the second challenge and they're like, oh, this is gonna be really tough, so if you want to tap out now, do so. And then like 2 of them were like, I'm out. Literally. It was just like, okay. Actually, but like, you didn't even attempt it.
I know, which is just wild. And I am like kind of like, I want to hear more from like Nick Viall.
Yeah, me too.
Tom, I mean, come on,
we haven't heard anything.
He's literally the one on all the posters, and he's not getting any screen time. I will say with the second one or the first season, I felt like we got to see more interactions between the contestants. Members. Yeah, and I don't know.
We haven't really seen a lot.
I know, so I don't know if they're not really like vibing. Like, it just feels like there's a better chemistry on the first season.
That's interesting.
Yeah, so I don't know if it's just like this group of people.
Yeah, I agree. I would like to see more. Like Nick, this is why I like listening to his podcast, because he'll talk about Special Forces and give more of the inside scoop. He said that when they were on their way to one of the challenges, he was in a car with Tom Sandoval, and he's like, I basically just straight up interviewed him, and they didn't use any of that.
Which is why, I mean, I get like the show isn't really supposed to be about drama.
No,
and
but
stuff,
you can add that in.
This is juicy.
Yeah, and like, okay, well, if they didn't air it, Nick, then can you just give us some of the inside scoop, please? Because you barely touched on it.
It feels like the show wants to be like, I don't know if like it doesn't want to date itself. Like, it kind of wants, like, if we talk about the Scandival drama, then people can't watch a timestamp. Yeah. It just kind of feels like that. But
why? Like, what's the point?
It's like, I don't think people are going to go through. And if they did, then they care about that stuff. I don't know. It just seemed, I don't know. They're like trying not to do the drama and literally just focus on.
But I would like a little drama.
I know. I need a little something. I need them talking. Again, maybe the second cast just really isn't vibing as much or what, but anyway.
So Savannah Chrisley went home, and that one football player went home. Or no, he was basketball. The football player went home before, right?
Or was he the bowler? Because there's like
there was a bowler?
Professional bowler was the guy who got mad, I think, that on the wall thing.
No, he was a football player.
Oh.
No, you're thinking it said pro bowler, like the Pro Bowl in football.
Oh, gotcha. Listen, I don't like sports. I see the word bowler. It's got to be a bowler.
And here I am like, wait, who is that?
I even thought, I'm like, that is one buff bowler.
It doesn't really make sense. Why is
Like,
he so competitive?
I mean, I know you need upper body strength. But... well, whatever.
And then who was the third person? I literally can't even remember. Was it the speed skater? The woman? I can't remember.
Yeah, I think.
I can't remember.
Anyway,
but
people
anyway,
are dropping
3
like
people went off. But they weren't Tyler Cameron, Jojo Siwa, Tom Sandoval, or Nick Vial.
I was really disappointed with the Savannah one. Like,
me too.
She could have been done good. Did really
she
good.
Was doing well on the show.
Then I was like, I have to get back to my siblings. You've
really?
been gone for 4 days. Right. Like, come on. Like, no, 3.
I think it'll be okay.
Days.
Then why'd you come on the show in the first place?
Literally.
You know, like, just, no, I was annoyed by that. Anyway, hopefully this week's episode is better. Because I was just kind of bored by last week.
I know, like it was fun.
I did like the car thing. That was kind of cool.
I know, it was funny that people like didn't do it right. Like, were you guys listening at all? And then there was a part where I think it was Sandoval and Tyler Cameron were like going and he's like, I failed because I didn't do it right. And then Tom is like, oh man, they made, or what they say, they really made it really clear what they wanted you to do. And I was like, it literally wasn't hard to understand.
This the guy in the car with them would be like, what did you do? What was the task? To save the whatever. And did you do it?
Osborne, he just drove. He goes, and then he gives this reasoning like, if that happens, like, I'm getting to the border. So you didn't listen to what you're supposed to do.
The task? And he's in the car like, stop. Like, he was so enraged.
Was it Savannah Grizzly like went to turn around?
What are you doing? And then it'll be like dramatic.
Like dead.
Yeah,
they're
that's what I was about
dead.
to say. So dramatic. Oh yeah.
And it's, I don't know, it's so funny. I still like this show.
I still do
it's
too.
Like crazy.
I mean, I'm gonna keep watching it, obviously, but
it's goofy.
It's just a funny premise.
And just like even Sandoval, like he's in his element right now, being so extra. He runs out. Come on, man. Come on, get in the car. I was like, oh, okay, you're not acting.
I know. Everything is an acting job for him. Well, this next episode is Nick Vial's the one that punches him.
Yeah.
Beats him up. And he goes, this is what I'm waiting for him to be like, I deserve to be punished. I did a bad thing. Oh, anyway. Yeah. All right. Well, should we wrap this baby up?
Yep.
Do you have a recommendation?
No. Don't get sick. That's my recommendation.
Your recommendation is
start wearing your mask
fluids.
Again. Yeah, drink fluids. A lot of it and flush out all the toxins.
Well, my recommendation is something that could maybe help you appear more awake when you are not. And it is, now, again, I don't know if this actually works that well. I haven't seen a dramatic difference with myself, but I only started using it recently. And it is the caffeine eye cream from Inky List. And I mean, it should help me seem more awake, right? Like,
in theory.
In theory. So, maybe anybody who's out there sleepy.
Sometimes I've just heard so many different things about eye creams. Like, no, you don't actually need one. Just use your regular moisturizer. No, use this one. And I've seen some with retinol in them. And it's like,
I heard too, using a vitamin C serum under your eye. Like, I've heard so many, but I've heard that too, where they're like, there's no reason to buy another one. Just use your moisturizer. But I mean, hello, I have like 3 of them at home right now.
Yeah, it's like
for different times a day.
Well, I know. It's like, what are we supposed to? It's so much conflicting, and then it's like ingredients like, actually, this is totally fine for you. No, don't use it. And it's like, what is
remember
it?
Back in the day where they just basically demanded we use an eye cream? Like, it was, you have to use an eye cream.
You should have been using one when you were 21.
Yeah, when you came out the womb, you should have put an eye cream on.
Now they're like, actually, never mind. You're fine.
But anyway, I mean, if you see a dramatic difference in my under eyes, you'll know that's what it was from. So
I've given up on my under eyes. It's just a hereditary thing.
I just never think that yours look that bad.
Really? I think mine look, I feel like that's all I can see. And then I have like a weird, like dark vein right here that makes this side look extra bad.
I honest to God, like, don't ever look at yours and be like, wow, those are dark. Those are heavy.
Well, I feel like they're purple and blue, but you know what?
Maybe it's the soft lighting in here.
The ambiance.
Well, thank you guys for listening. Don't forget, we're on YouTube. You can watch our video on Spotify. Follow us on all our social media platforms.
I'm going to attempt to make some book talk TikToks.
So if anybody's interested, we're just throwing things out there at this point.
Want to see anything.
We got some new followers on TikTok from our semi-viral or viral by our standards video. I'd say it's viral, but yeah. But it seems like those followers don't watch all of our TikToks.
It does seem like some of them have gotten like more views from like, I guess people probably then look at our profile and click on some, but it's nothing like.
Oh, this is like really quick side note, just thinking about our social media, which I think we should still be active on all of our platforms. But from that Heidi and Spencer podcast, they said what social media platforms are like the hot ones that you should use. And this guy said that Instagram is still king.
See, I do feel like some of them are really good. And it's like, I just don't know how to... Anyway, we'll have that conversation off camera.
No one needs to
I could see that being the case.
And I do see how TikTok is more like one-off stuff, But anyway, doesn't matter for us really right now. We're still growing. Please interact with us, guys. We love you and love your support in any form.
Yes.
All right. We'll see you next week.
Bye.